It has come to a very important juncture after 1 year of changing the presidency in Sri Lanka to see what is happening now and what should happen for the future. And we have been discussing many important points earlier, and I made very clear what people really want to see: better environment in healthcare, better environment for children in education and further education, and also the old age people to be looked after. These are three main areas that I consider that is very important in a failed state or a state which is developing. we listen to politicians' different versions, different times. If you go back 1 year ago, if at all we have changed the president who was in power and the government we have changed, the reasons behind that, the opposition at that time, what they were saying, the country is in a corrupt state and the insecurity is high even though the war is not there because of the civil liberty and civil order is not intact. Thirdly, they said the country is moving towards the bankrupt state and many of the poor is suffering, and the gap between the rich and the poor is immensely changing to the worse, and few newly rich had taken bulk of the assets of the country. So these are the things that we were talking during the election times, and whether these are changing is one question. And there is hope. Definitely there is hope, because the dialogue have not stopped. Even what is good is not only the public, even the politicians still live in that scenario, which these things have to be corrected. So it's going to constitutional changes, constitutional institutes to be established, and controls to be levied, and good practices to be put into place, and whoever have done mass scale corruption and to bring them to justice. All this is still in the dialogue. And why I mention that is definitely the masses are talking about it, and it is in every forum. The authority is also is talking about it, but actions are not to the level of talk. This is what the people believe. So we are very hopeful these changes should come. But we have experienced already a budget which was in November, and definitely they had a majority. But we all know the integrity of the pops, who call it, I call pops for politicians. These people, they get together for their own benefits. So we had always a majority, and even 2/3 majority in the past. Last couple of years it had been the feature. Political parties had been betrayed and changing seats from this side to that side, having majorities in parliament for certain reasons. It can be easily taken by bribes. So we have, even in last election, the opposition was talking about those, how people switch parties for bribes. And some of them are in court as well today. Now, instead of talking always about politics and what politicians are, it's better to look at the economics of the country. And what I am trying to stress is the budget didn't address in the last election, what the masses are asking for changes. Now, I think I was very clear in the past. Prices of items is subject to demand and supply, and imports and exports also import and export the inflation as well. So the prices, hardly anything that the government can do. But the important thing is, if government imports certain items to the country, the prices, when they come in as a lower prices, it should be given to people without any delay, like many countries do. And otherwise, it is a part of a tax that the government is taking. Today, oil prices have changed, and it is going in the benefit of the country in big way. And at this juncture, the economics in the world is not doing well. There is a recession in many areas, and deflation is seen in many countries. At the same time, negative growth is seen in certain countries. But this can be the time for us to grow. This is what always the case. Bad time of another one can be the good time of ours. This is the faith that the government should always stress it. At the same time, we must look at it. Government revenue increases, especially the foreign income earnings can be also disturbed because of the oil prices. If people are, especially high salary people, may return, but they may find other employment. So when they return, I have been discussing this, government don't have a plan for foreign employees when they come back, how the national income equation can be addressed, number one. Number two, how to find jobs for people to go abroad or settle back in country. So, I was listening to a program which was about Australia. So, Australia, they said, the second best country to be born. So I asked a question, maybe Sri Lanka is the first country to be born as best. Of course, the country is so good, but sad to say, today, country may be not proud about our leaders, neither are people. It's not just politics alone, lifestyles, moreover, respect on each other have deteriorated heavily. So, time have come to address and see how to make the country a better country, not only for us, the generation to come. Of course, during our time, though there was a lot of sacrifices the people have done. If you look at it, 2.5 million people have gone abroad, separating from their families. We didn't have that culture in 1960s, 70s. Today we have sacrificed our family life and brought income to the country. And we have the workers since the trade zones. The ladies used to go from one village to the other, one village to another town, to another district to work, which was never the case before. And they hardly come back home for months. We have done those sacrifices. And after all, men who have learned to develop the country, work for the country, have gone and built other countries. And this money have not brought result to us. Of course, the country would be proud of them in two ways if it has happened. One is the money which we remitted back home had been utilized in good faith for the country and done justice to the country. Then the country would have been proud of what we earned and brought back. Secondly, country would have been proud, people who left the country, who have made earnings and come back, they were able to settle down back home with a dignity. Believe me, they sacrificed quite a dignity to go abroad, but they were not able to come back even with a dignity. This is sad. So, the foreign employment ministers, planners for the country in treasury, Minister of Finance, all must get together and seeing and bringing foreign employees also to justice. Now, we are very concerned, one day all of us have to return back home. Whether when we are on old age, there is a system, not for people who have quite decent salaries, who can settle down a little bit with their earnings, but majority of them, 80% or more, they are not meeting their aspirations. So when they go back, our medical system is not geared and made contextually to look after the old age of people. So it's time the foreign employment people who send foreign currency should request the government to use this foreign currency, bring best healthcare systems not only to the cities, also to the villages, and improve the national healthcare grid to accommodate all of us in wherever we are. Could be in village, in urban or town. We should be able to get it the fair healthcare by the state. And having said that, I know people who have worked with me in different categories, especially grassroots level. When they return back, if some of my own staff had to suicide when there is a kidney problem. There was cases where they have left children and spouses without any guarantees for their living after working for 10-15 years abroad. This is very sad stories, and among the foreign employees there is only few who can be vocal, who could articulate in a style to explain their grievances, their situations to the state. And I see that dialogue is close to zero, and that is the very reason I take this initiative of giving such cases. But sad, but who are the victims of this situation also may not appreciate what I am doing, because this is the ignorance of the society. We have a huge ignorant society, and the reason they don't know their future. As our politicians are working for the present situation, present day life, they don't forecast for future properly. They themselves, even the public, is the same scenario. They are not in a situation to think for future. So all in all, what I want to say is education system, before you put your hands correct yourself properly, study it properly, because a lot of educated people from the free education is the one who went abroad and brought a lot of results to the country. So the free education to secure, but giving opportunities probably in the private sector in proportionately to the demand is something that we can think, but the free education should be improved. The budgets for education of the government should be increased, and government spending on politicians and their henchmen should be controlled. At the same time, healthcare system should be in depth and improve the healthcare system by giving old age especially an opportunity to get free healthcare system. And more than anything, we must look after people who have served the country, who have gone abroad. When they come back, they should be given respect and acceptable, especially their children. You know, you have sometime maybe you have a certain respect to people who go abroad and send money. What about their children? You know, their children have sacrificed immensely, and this I am talking to public in Sri Lanka to understand. Foreign employees have done immense sacrifice by going abroad. You know, the parents like to see their parents, to say the children have missed their grandparents going abroad. They have sacrificed their houses to go abroad, and the money that they make abroad is so marginal, they cannot save much. This should be known by the public. Sometimes, you know, certain elements in the country thinks that people have made money and we have no duty to do to them. This is a wrong perception. They have done much sacrifices than any parents in Sri Lanka who is sending their children in Sri Lanka. The people who have gone abroad have done hell of a sacrifice. And we want the government to look after them. And I went abroad 30 years ago. Things have not changed. Things have got worsened. The looking after people is not doing properly. And foreign missions which have gone have to set their goals properly and work for betterment of our people, especially people when they go abroad, to ensure before going out of the country they are not being ripped off by people, given proper contracts. Today, I am happy to say some of the countries, especially in Middle East where I am, they now trace to see whether the people are bringing qualified people to the job appropriately matched. Most of the time what happened, we were sending people from Sri Lanka for wrong jobs. This should be the case that we have to be very careful. So anyhow, what today's idea is to say, we are still far from seeing progress to what we are expecting to happen. Hope certain corruption will be shortly seen to the public being handled by the government, but that is not enough. Most important for me today is economics, and especially this economics to the whole country, not only to Sinhalese, it should be for the Muslims, it should be for the Tamils. When I go out of Vaunia, I feel very sorry when I see what is the economic conditions in deep in jungles people who are living. Things should change. We are a different world today altogether, and government should think drastically and bring results. And we hope to meet again in another discussion, and